Out of all of the movies that have been released within the past year, Lisa Frankenstein has absolutely been one of my personal favorites to watch. This comedic 2024 film tells the story of an unusual romance between a not-so-regular teenage girl and her living dead lover. The movie begins with our main character, our gothic, unusual, and dearly beloved Lisa Swallows. 6 months after the tragic murder of her mother, Lisa moves to a town called Brookview, where she lives with her dad, her stepsister Taffy, and her stepmother Janet. The dynamic between the family is an interesting one, Dale being a bit absent-minded as a father, and Janet taking on a very evil stepmother-like role. There's also Taffy, the stepsister, who's not too bad. She's nice, but slightly patronizing towards Lisa at times, and a bit oblivious. The plot revolves around Lisa and the creature. Lisa, having an apparent fascination with death and cemeteries, begins to hang out at the local cemetery. Here, she discovers the grave of a man who died in the 1930s. It becomes her favorite, and she begins to read to it and deliver presents.
That's really weird, Lisa.
One night, a bolt of lightning strikes the creature's grave, bringing him back to life. Together, they're two misunderstood freaks in a world surrounded by people who can't understand them. We have Lisa, traumatized from the murder of her mother, and the creature, who, aside from having his own sad backstory, is ultimately living dead.
Oh no, god damn it, when you cry it smells like a hot toilet in a carnival!
They have to find their place in the world and get revenge on the people who've wronged them, no matter how chaotic and bloody that fight gets. There's this overall theme of being an outcast, learning to find yourself and take revenge on the people who stop you. It's often shown in either a humorous or violent manner, sometimes both.
I can't do that. Not until we bury the body.
We see this in the main couple, Lisa, played by Kathryn Newton.
Did you see that? Did that go in the hole? I wasn't watching. Did the ball go in the hole?
Well played.
And the creature, played by the well-known Cole Sprouse. As previously mentioned, when Lisa was younger, she witnessed the murder of her mother take place. She never moved on from it, resenting the fact that everyone else could so easily.
And pretty soon, everybody seemed like they were almost excited to move on and forget about her.
It leads her to become reserved, misunderstood, and often perceived as unusual by other characters. It's pretty clear that she has a special place in her heart for the dead, hanging out at the local haunted cemetery. She's a fun, awkward, and relatable protagonist, especially for teenagers and people who defy social norms. I think Kathryn Newton does a really incredible job with this performance. It's definitely one of my favorites from her.
I wish I was with you.
She does a great job delivering lines and portraying the character. It's definitely one of my favorite performances from her. I can't imagine another Lisa Frankenstein. Cole Sprouse's character in this movie is an unnamed role, often referred to as the creature. The credits at the start of the movie actually feature a black and white gothic animation. It tells the story of a sad and lonely pianist in the 1930s who is seduced by a beautiful woman. He falls in love with her, but she ends up leaving him for another man. Then, as if things couldn't get any worse for him, he's struck dead by a flash of lightning. And then, 50 years later, his grave is struck by lightning again. He comes back to life and falls for Lisa, who has been tending to his grave this entire time, going as far as killing for her throughout the movie. I think Cole Sprouse did a great job with his role too. He managed to give a convincing performance even in all of those prosthetics, which is something I find bizarre. He actually quite enjoyed the process, at least the process of being a part of the movie. He called getting the face cast done a claustrophobic and tomb-like experience, which I can imagine. One thing about this movie that deserves to be analyzed is the relationship between Lisa and her family, specifically with her stepmother. Janet is portrayed as narcissistic and manipulative, fitting the evil stepmother cliché. Most of the time, when Janet is being manipulative and controlling, Dale is seen as absent-minded and practically oblivious to it. His role in the movie is hardly significant, despite the fact that he's supposed to be such an important figure in Lisa's life. The performance of Janet is specifically immaculate, some of her most manipulative and controlling lines being the most brutal.
I'm sure people were talking. Or maybe you liked being a hot topic. Maybe it was the first time anyone ever looked at you. Shut up!
Even though they were slightly downplayed sometimes by the comedic tone of the movie.
Dale, you need to stop munching the grape nuts and be a father right now.
I also appreciate other parts of the movie, like the soundtrack. The Pixies, REO Speedwagon, the Jesus and Mary chain. The perfect soundtrack for a movie that takes place in the late 80s to early 90s. It really sets that teenage angst mood and highlights the overall atmosphere of the film. It's the perfect soundtrack for the kind of movie that it is. There are other bands pointed out too, like when the creature wears a Violent Femmes shirt. I think if you know anything about 80s music, it gives you a great idea of Lisa's character. It's not just the perfect soundtrack for the movie,
like this
but also her.
Song? Do you like any other music?
I have the cure.
Oh. No. It's not that kind of cure. It's a band. They can't make you better. I mean, they can, but emotionally. Okay.
It's a really visually pleasing film with a distinct color palette and atmosphere happening. There's this use of fun, bright colors like green and pink, clashing with the overall darkness of the gothic horror element in a unique and interesting way. One of my favorite visual scenes is this romantic, gothic, black and white dream sequence that Lisa has, as you watch the world transition from this sad blue atmosphere to a dream. So, it's a compelling story mixed with horror and comedy, romance and angst. As advertised, a coming-of-age film, especially made for an audience who might like to romanticize the more unusual aspects of life. It's a fun and quirky film about love, maybe not in a realistic or traditional sense, but definitely in a way that can be entertaining to see. It's about revenge and fighting for and expressing yourself. I would definitely recommend this movie to anyone who sees themselves outside of or above social norms, just because of the way that it tackles being an outcast, displaying the gothic yet silly main character as a writer of her own story. I will always recommend this movie to people, just because of how funny and absurd yet evocative it can be. It's quite popular within the gothic community, considering its representation of the culture, and has definitely resonated with a lot of younger people. So, that's why I think that Lisa Frankenstein is the greatest movie of all time.